Look at her, still glued to that laptop like some college kid, my brother Daniel scoffed from across the Christmas dinner table. Seriously, Maya, when are you going to get a real job? That gig at Metrotech isn't a career. I clenched my jaw, trying to keep my composure as my family's judgment settled over me like an old, familiar weight. It was Christmas Eve at my parents' house in Chicago, just me, Daniel, our parents, and my cousin Lauren. The scent of roasted ham and cinnamon filled the air, but all I could taste was their disapproval. My name is Maya Reynolds, and I'm 30 years old. For the past 4 years, I've worked at Metrotech, a mid-sized electronics store, while secretly developing a machine learning-based inventory management system. That retail job wasn't just about paying bills, it was research. Every time a customer complained about out-of-stock items, every inefficient process I saw firsthand, I took notes and fine-tuned my app. But trying to explain that to my family was pointless. Maya, honey, my mother said in that ever-so-patient tone I knew too well. Daniel's just looking out for you. Look at him. He's already a senior financial analyst at 32. We just want to see you on the right path. I glanced down at my phone, doing my best to suppress the smirk creeping onto my lips. The email I had just received confirmed it. Google's tech division was interested in acquiring my software, and they wanted to set up a final meeting tomorrow. But I said nothing. I had learned long ago that sharing my ambitions with my family only led to ridicule. She's probably just watching YouTube tutorials again, Daniel chuckled, grabbing another helping of mashed potatoes. Remember when she said she was learning to code last year? Like someone who barely passed high school calculus was going to develop anything worth selling. My father nodded in agreement. Tech is a tough industry, sweetheart. If you want stability, why not let Daniel help you find something in finance? Something practical. I exhaled slowly, forcing a tight-lipped smile. You're right, I said, my voice steady. Maybe I'm just wasting my time. The words tasted bitter, but I reminded myself that by tomorrow, everything would change. My meeting with Google's executives was scheduled for 10 a.m. sharp. Across the table, Lauren caught my eye and gave me a subtle nod. She was the only one who knew the truth, and her silent support meant the world to me. As my family continued their meal, laughing and chatting as if they hadn't just dismissed my dreams, I let my mind drift back. This pattern wasn't new. Growing up in Chicago, I had always been the odd one out. Daniel was the golden child, charming, confident, effortlessly successful. Meanwhile, I had spent my teenage years buried in coding forums, teaching myself how to build programs while everyone else was out partying. Remember when Maya tried to build that website for Mom's baking business? Daniel snorted, shaking his head. What a disaster that was. I felt my grip tighten around my fork, but I kept my expression neutral. What they didn't know was that the disaster was my first real coding project. Sure, it had glitches and the design was clunky, but it had taught me the fundamentals of UX design and back-end development, skills I had later used to build my app. At least she's reliable at Metrotech, my father added, as if that was the highest praise I could hope for. Her manager says she's always on time. If only they knew. My manager, Sarah, was one of my biggest supporters. She had seen firsthand how my system could predict sales trends, optimize stock levels, and minimize waste. You're solving real problems here, Maya, she told me just last week. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I wasn't. Tomorrow, when I walked into that boardroom, I'd be presenting a product that a billion-dollar company wanted to buy. And my family? They'd find out soon enough. For now, I let them laugh. I let them dismiss me. Because by this time next year, they wouldn't just be eating Christmas dinner. They'd be eating their words. Lauren reached under the table and squeezed my hand. 3 months ago, when I had shown her the prototype, she had immediately understood its potential. They'll see eventually, she whispered, her voice just low enough that only I could hear. My mother began gathering the plates, and I instinctively stood to help. Daniel, tell us more about your new promotion, she said, beaming with pride. Your father and I were just telling the neighbors about it yesterday. I carried dishes to the kitchen, my mind drifting to all those nights I had stayed up late, working on my app after long retail shifts, fueled by coffee and determination. My family might brag about Daniel's promotion, but tomorrow, they'd be reading about my success in the morning news. My phone buzzed again, another email from Google's team confirming tomorrow's meeting. I allowed myself a small smile as I rinsed the dishes. Let them think I was just a retail worker with unrealistic dreams. By this time tomorrow, everything would change. After dinner, I retreated to my old bedroom, needing a moment alone. The space remained exactly as I had left it. My old computer still sat on the desk, the very place where I had written my first lines of code. From downstairs, I could hear my family's voices drifting up from the living room, their laughter punctuated by occasional mentions of my name. I opened my laptop to review my presentation for tomorrow's meeting when a notification popped up, a message from Nathan, an old classmate who now worked at Metrotech's corporate office. The moment I read it, my blood ran cold. Maya, you need to know something. Daniel came by the office last week. He was asking a lot of questions about your app and your work schedule. I thought it was strange, but my hands trembled as I scrolled through the rest of the message. Apparently, Daniel had been digging for information about my project, claiming he was worried about his sister's questionable career choices. He had even tried to access my work computer. A soft knock at the door interrupted my thoughts. It was Lauren. Hey, you okay? You disappeared pretty fast after dinner. She sat beside me on the bed, concern etched into her face. Daniel tried to spy on my project, I said, my voice cracking slightly. He went to my workplace. Lauren's expression darkened. Because he knows. Maybe not the details, but he suspects you're onto something big. I overheard him talking to your mom earlier. He's worried you'll embarrass yourself by trying to present an amateur app to actual tech companies. The pieces suddenly clicked into place. Daniel's pointed comments at dinner. My parents' increased criticism of my career choices. The constant attempts to push me toward finance. They weren't just dismissing my dreams, they were actively trying to discourage me from succeeding. Look at this, Lauren said, pulling out her phone. She showed me Daniel's latest Instagram post, a picture from his office with the caption, "Time to help my little sister find her path. Sometimes tough love is the best love. #family first." The condescension in those words made my chest tighten. All those nights I had spent perfecting my code, running user tests, debugging every flaw, and my own family still saw me as nothing more than a retail worker with delusions of grandeur. I closed my laptop slowly. I can't believe I was going to tell them about the Google meeting tomorrow. My voice was quiet, almost like I was speaking to myself. I was actually going to share my success with them. Lauren squeezed my shoulder. Then don't let them find out with everyone else, she said, a smirk tugging at the corner of her lips. Sometimes, the best revenge is letting people's assumptions blow up in their faces. She was right. Tomorrow, when I walked into Google's boardroom, I wouldn't just be some retail employee. I'd be the developer of a game-changing inventory system, a system a billion-dollar company wanted to buy. And my family? They'd find out soon enough. For now, I'd let them laugh. I'd let them doubt me. Because by this time tomorrow, they wouldn't just be eating Christmas dinner. They'd be eating their words. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words. I barely slept that night, my mind racing with thoughts of tomorrow's meeting and Daniel's betrayal. At 6 a.m., I quietly packed my laptop and presentation materials, planning to leave before anyone else woke up. But as I crept down the stairs, I heard voices coming from the kitchen. "I'm telling you, Mom, we need to stop this now." Daniel's voice was sharp in the early morning quiet. "Maya's going to humiliate herself with this app thing. I saw what she's working on at Metrotech. It's just basic inventory tracking, nothing special." I froze on the stairs, my heart pounding. How did he know the details of my project? I spoke with my friend at the corporate office, Daniel continued. There's no record of Maya filing anything official. We can't let her waste her life on this fantasy. My mother sighed. Maybe we should call Google's HR department, warn them that she might not be what they're expecting. That stung. The genuine concern in her voice somehow hurt more than Daniel's scheming. They really thought they were protecting me from myself. I stepped into the kitchen, making my presence known. "You don't need to worry about calling anyone," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. I can handle my own career choices. They jumped, startled by my sudden appearance. Daniel recovered first, his face shifting into a fake sympathetic smile. Maya, we're just trying to help, he said smoothly. This app of yours, it's sweet that you're trying, but you're not a real developer. You need to be realistic. Realistic. I pulled out my phone and opened my development portfolio. Like how I've been realistically working on this project for 3 years? I asked, holding up the screen. Or how I've, realistically, been teaching myself programming since high school? Honey, my mother started. Daniel works with real tech companies. He knows what they're looking for. No, he doesn't, I cut in. He works in finance. He has no idea what my app actually does because he only saw the basic interface we use at the store. The real system is much more complex. Daniel's smile faltered slightly. I was just at your workplace last week. I saw everything. I let out a slow breath, gathering my courage. You saw what I wanted you to see. The words landed like a stone in the room. The store version is just a small part of the full system, I continued. But you wouldn't understand that, would you? Because you were too busy trying to sabotage me to actually ask what I was working on. Silence. Through the kitchen window, I could see the sun rising over the Chicago skyline, the sky painted in hues of pink and gold. In just a few hours, everything would change. I turned toward the door. I have a meeting to get to. Don't bother calling Google. They already know exactly who I am and what I can do. Maya, wait, my mother called after me. We're your family. We just want to protect you from disappointment. I paused, gripping the doorknob. I thought about all the nights I had spent coding, all the tutorials I had studied, all the test runs and bug fixes. They had no idea what I was capable of because they had never bothered to look past their own assumptions. I turned slightly, my voice quiet but firm. Sometimes, the people who think they're protecting you are actually just protecting their own view of who you should be. With that, I walked out. The morning air was crisp and cool, filled with possibility. I had a meeting to get to, and I wasn't going to let anyone stand in my way. The Google headquarters lobby was sleek and intimidating, all glass and polished steel. As I sat in the waiting area, my phone kept buzzing with messages from my family. I ignored them all. Except for one. Lauren. They're freaking out. Daniel's been making calls all morning, trying to figure out what's really going on. I smirked. Let him panic. A sleek elevator carried me to the executive floor, where my store manager, Sarah, was already waiting. She had been one of my earliest supporters, seeing firsthand how my system revolutionized inventory tracking. She gave me a confident nod. You ready? I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of every late night, every doubt, every moment of frustration. And then I smiled. Absolutely. The sight of Sarah's familiar face in this unexpected setting made me stop short. Surprise, she said, grinning. Did you really think I was just a retail manager? I've been Google's head of retail innovation for the past year, evaluating new technologies in real-world settings. My mind raced, remembering all the times Sarah had given me feedback on my app, the insightful questions she'd asked about its capabilities. What I had thought was friendly interest had actually been professional evaluation. Daniel came to the store last week, Sarah continued, her expression turning serious. He tried to access your development files, claiming he was your business partner. When that didn't work, he implied you might have stolen the concept from his finance firm. I felt the blood drain from my face. He what? Don't worry, Sarah assured me. We have security footage of him attempting to access your computer. Plus, we've been documenting your development process since I first noticed your prototype 6 months ago. His claims won't hold up. I exhaled, trying to steady myself. So he really had been trying to sabotage me. The meeting room was already full of executives when we entered. I pulled out my laptop, my hands steady despite my racing heart. This was my moment. Good morning, everyone, I began. For the past 3 years, I've been developing an AI-powered inventory system that doesn't just track products, it predicts customer behavior, streamlines supply chains, and adapts to real-time market changes. As I demonstrated the system, I could see their eyes light up with interest. The AI's ability to predict inventory needs based on weather patterns, local events, and social media trends was unlike anything currently on the market. This is impressive, the chief technology officer said. But why test it in a small electronics store? I smiled. Because retail is where the real problems are. Working on the sales floor showed me what customers and employees actually need, not what executives think they need. The presentation continued, and with each feature I showcased, I could see them becoming more convinced. When I finished, there was a moment of silence. Then, the CTO spoke. "We'd like to make you an offer." I held my breath. Not just for the system, but for you to join us as Deputy Director of Retail Innovation, working alongside Sarah. He picked up a marker and wrote a number on the whiteboard. My breath caught. It was more money than my entire family made in a year. "One more thing," Sarah added. "We're planning to implement your system in all Google stores and partner retailers by next quarter. The announcement goes out tomorrow morning." Partner retailers. Including MetroTech, where my family store was a franchise. They would have no choice but to use my system, the one they dismissed as a waste of time. I signed the preliminary paperwork, my phone buzzing with another message from Lauren. Daniel's in full panic mode. He just found out his firm's biggest client is Google, and they're announcing a major retail tech acquisition tomorrow. He's worried it might affect his contracts. I put my phone away, suppressing a smile. Tomorrow couldn't come soon enough. Back at my hotel room that evening, I was reviewing the final acquisition paperwork when my phone erupted with notifications. Apparently, Daniel had just discovered that his firm's newest project, a retail technology overhaul for their clients, was being suspended pending a major announcement from Google. A message from Daniel appeared on my screen. "Maya, we need to talk. This is serious. Please call me." I stared at my phone for a long moment. Then, I put it down. Let him wait. I was about to turn off my phone when it rang. It was Sarah. "Just wanted to warn you," she said. "Your brother's firm has been trying to get information about tomorrow's announcement. He's claiming he needs to protect his family's interests. I've had to block 3 calls from him already." I sighed, rubbing my temples. "He's probably worried about his finance contracts." "It's more than that," Sarah hesitated. "Maya, he's been telling people he helped develop your system. Says he provided the core financial strategies that made it work." My hands clenched into fists. Even now, Daniel was trying to take credit for my work. A lifetime of being overshadowed by him flashed through my mind. Every achievement diminished, every dream mocked. "There's something else you should know," Sarah continued. "Your family store isn't just any MetroTech franchise. According to our records, it's one of the top-performing locations in the Midwest. They've been using that success to block smaller franchises from opening in the area." The revelation hit me hard. All those times they dismissed my retail job, they had been profiting from the same industry they mocked me for working in. My phone buzzed again this time, a message from my father. "Just heard about Google's announcement tomorrow. Daniel says it might affect our store. What do you know about this?" Before I could respond, another message came through, my mother. "Honey, please. Tell Daniel he can help fix whatever problem you've created. He has connections." I felt a familiar ache in my chest. But this time, it was accompanied by something else. Determination. For years, they had used their success to justify undermining mine. Tomorrow, that would end. I called Lauren to share the latest developments. "Daniel's been calling everyone he knows at Google," she reported. "He's desperate to find out what's happening." "And your parents?" "They're worried sick about their precious store." "They should be," I said quietly. "My system doesn't just track inventory, it identifies unfair market practices, including how larger franchises block smaller competitors." Lauren was silent for a moment. "So when your system goes live, it'll flag their store for anti-competitive practices?" "Yes." I took a deep breath. "They'll have to change how they operate, just like every other franchise." "Maya," Lauren said softly, "are you sure about this? It's your family." "Families shouldn't try to sabotage each other," I replied. "Besides, I'm not doing this for revenge. The system flags these issues because they hurt small businesses. My family will just have to adapt like everyone else." As I prepared for bed, I thought about tomorrow's announcement. My family would learn about my success, not through a quiet conversation, but through a public revelation that would shake their comfortable world. Sometimes, karma comes in the form of a software update. The morning of the announcement, I sat in Google's press conference room, watching the live stream on multiple screens. The CEO stood on stage, describing how the new AI-powered retail system would revolutionize inventory management. I spotted my family's shocked faces among the MetroTech franchise owners attending virtually. This innovative system, the CEO continued, was developed by our new Deputy Director of Retail Innovation, Maya Reynolds, who spent 3 years perfecting it while working in retail herself. The camera feed capturing the franchise meeting zoomed in on my family's reactions. My mother's coffee cup slipped from her fingers. My father's face drained of color. And Daniel, his expression shifted from confusion to horror as he realized the implications. The CEO continued, explaining how the system would ensure fair market competition, preventing large franchises from manipulating local markets, the exact strategy my family had used to dominate their region. Their biggest business advantage was about to disappear, and they had no one to blame but themselves. I watched as my parents exchanged worried glances, no doubt realizing that their territory control tactics would soon be exposed. My phone lit up with a message from Daniel. "You need to stop this now. Do you have any idea what this will do to Mom and Dad's business? To my finance contracts?" I left it unanswered. The presentation continued, with Sarah demonstrating the system's features. Starting next week, this will be the mandatory management system for all MetroTech locations, she announced. No exceptions. I thought about all the times they'd laughed at my little app, all the times they'd told me to stick to retail. Well, I had stuck to retail. And now, retail would stick with them in ways they never expected. In the days following the announcement, my family's carefully constructed world began to crumble. Their MetroTech store was flagged for multiple anti-competitive practices, forcing them to immediately adjust their business model. Daniel's finance firm lost several major clients as companies switched to agencies with experience in the new AI-driven retail system. I received a lengthy email from my mother, full of mixed emotions. Guilt over dismissing my abilities. Fear about their business's future. A desperate plea for help. Dad called twice, leaving voicemails that shifted from angry accusations to humble apologies. Daniel, predictably, tried a different approach. He showed up at Google's offices, claiming he had critical insights about the system's development. Security footage showed him being politely but firmly escorted out, after Sarah revealed documented evidence of his previous attempts to sabotage my work. Lauren visited me in my new office, now with a stunning view of downtown Chicago. "How does it feel?" she asked, gesturing to my nameplate. Maya Reynolds, Deputy Director of Retail Innovation. I exhaled, looking out at the city's skyline. The Willis Tower loomed in the distance, a reminder of how far I had come. Surreal, I admitted. But right. My phone buzzed, another message from my parents. "Can we meet to discuss how you can help us transition to the new system?" I placed the phone face down on my desk, focusing instead on the future ahead of me. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about moving forward and letting others face the consequences of underestimating you. If you've ever been underestimated, dismissed, or told your dreams were just a waste of time, then you know exactly how I felt for years. My family saw me as nothing more than a retail worker with unrealistic ambitions until the day I proved them wrong. But here's the thing, I didn't succeed because I wanted revenge. I succeeded because I believed in myself even when no one else did. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever had someone doubt you, only to later regret it? Tell me in the comments. Let's share our stories and support each other. And if you were in my shoes, how would you handle my family now? Would you help them transition, or would you let them figure it out on their own? I've made my choice, but I want to know what you would do. Most importantly, I hope my story reminds you of one simple truth. You don't need anyone's approval to chase your dreams. If you're working on something big, whether it's a business, a creative project, or even a personal goal, keep going. Don't let the opinions of others dictate your success. Your value isn't determined by what others think. It's determined by what you create, build, and achieve. So tell me, What's your dream? And what's stopping you from going after it? Let's turn this comment section into a space where we lift each other up, because the best revenge isn't about getting even, it's about becoming unstoppable.